A great debate has been raging this week about the conditions on Gen Z and how hard their life is, and whether we should, so to speak, cut them some slack as older generations, or whether we should show tough love, whether we should foster their ambition, or whether we should tell them to be happy with their lot in life, even if it is not glamorous, even if they have to take and in fact sustain themselves throughout their whole lives on low-paying, menial jobs. This is a recurring debate. I have taken a stance before, and I will now justify it more fully. I think my general position is clear from the title of this video. I'll address general sentiments I read online, but I will also be more particularly addressing the video of Harry Robinson from the Lotus Eaters. I'll link his video in the description. Please pause this video and go watch his. It is undeniable that the deck is stacked against the Zoomers in many ways. They live under tyrannical governments which hate them and seek to destroy them or break them. But my view of the matter is very much influenced by the fact that I am Polish. Although I am too young to remember the days of communism, my parents and grandparents grew up in that system. In a system of a tyrannical government which also hated and sought to destroy them. I can compare how they lived and how they behaved to how Zoomers behave. And my position is this: stop coddling the Zoomers. The world is against them, true. That's why they must be tough. They must have the fighting spirit. But I have never known a soft touch to make anyone tough. In fact, the oppression they face is precisely the oppression of softness. They are not staring down the barrels of machine guns. They are not being crushed by an iron fist. They are being suffocated with a silk pillow, drowned in decadence. They are being told, eat, drink, grow fat, watch porn, pleasure yourself. They are told you are bad because of your testosterone, because your ancestors fought and dominated other nations, because they had drive and ambition. You be soft, be gentle, be kind, be more like women. And women are, of course, told, you be strong, be assertive. This liberal, soft tyranny must be countered by harshness, by toughness, by discipline. I think we all agree on what we wish the Zoomers to become, but we disagree how to achieve it. Some, like Harry Robinson, say we must foster their ambitions. We must tell them not to accept mediocrity. We must fill their lives with meaning and nurture in them the desire for adventure. But ambition and drive to fight the world are not things which can be fostered. Ambition is not a delicate flower which has to be protected and allowed to grow? If so, it will grow as a weed of entitlement. True ambition is an unquenchable flame. It is an overflowing river which cannot be contained. Drive to overcome the world is developed in opposition to the harsh world. Like diamond, it can only be formed under pressure. And that is precisely what the Zoomers need. Pressure. I will give an example of Christopher Lee. I remember it was either an interview with him or a video he made talking about his youthful ambition of becoming an actor. Everyone told him he shouldn't do it. He should find a safe, conventional occupation because the chances he would make it as an actor were very small. He would waste years and then have to return to some menial occupation. But he was driven, and he managed to achieve his dream, and in fact become not only an actor, but a really great one. What was his advice to young men who wanted to become actors? He didn't tell them, trust in yourself. He didn't foster their ambition. No, he repeated the same advice he got. Don't be an actor. Chances are you don't have what it takes to make it. He gave this advice precisely because he knew that those who do have that drive needed will not be deterred. I knew another man who grew up under communism in Poland. He was not out of high school yet when he went to an anti-government protest. Today's Zoomers may complain freely about their oppression online and risk no repercussions, or very small ones, at least in comparison with communist oppression. That young man was arrested. He was 17 or 18. His interrogator pulled out one by one every one of his fingers from its socket and bent it so they would touch the back of his hand. And then he one by one forced them each back into their sockets. Say what you want, Zoomers are not facing such oppression today. Did that young man ask for understanding? Did he say he couldn't achieve greatness? Did that extinguish his ambitions? No. He became an affluent travel writer. I know another who studied to become a lawyer. He was not allowed to function in his profession because he would have to join the Communist Party to do so. Again, a far harsher oppression than one faced by Zoomers. Did he give up? No, he found work in a newspaper. Later, when communists declared martial law, he was fired and arrested as an enemy of the system. When he was let out, it was forbidden to give him a job. Modern Zoomers may complain that they have to compete with illegal migrants or face discrimination. This man was outright forbidden to work, and yet he worked illegally to support his family. He was educated to be a lawyer. He worked in a newspaper. Now he was reduced to work in a factory, start from meanest occupation. And yet he succeeded. Another made his money by running a secret and illegal publishing house, smuggling and printing literature from the West. And even amongst Zoomers today, I know those who succeed, who manage to get into colleges, or who manage to find good wives, or who manage to start their own businesses. And they are always the ones who complain the least. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That is the principle of all great men. The defenders of the soft touch may say, we shouldn't live like this. The young shouldn't have to compete in their own country with immigrants. The simple fact is that they do. I am not interested in the world as it ought to be. Life is struggle. They can either rise to the challenge or they can fail and die. I fully support removing all the unjust rules and regulations which hinder young, ambitious Zoomers. But these adversities are not an explanation for why Zoomers stay at home or lack ambition, or why they can't find women and good jobs. Take the problem of incels. Zoomers are dating and having sex at much lower rates than previous generations. Why? Feminism, anti-family laws. Sure, crush feminism, abolish these laws. I'm absolutely in favor of that. But that does not explain everything. Zoomers are contributing to their own problem. I've talked with many of them and they are all on dating apps. They are no longer interacting in the real world, only in the virtual one. Of course, every one of those young men tells me that dating apps are absolutely horrible for men. The deck is stacked against them. They know it. They watched videos and analysis about why that is, and then they tested it for themselves, and yet they are still using these apps. They found the place where they will suffer the most, where they will fail the most, and they continually do the same thing over and over and over again. Go to a bar, socialize in the real world, interact with real people. But we know Zoomers are not doing that. They are consuming much less alcohol than the previous generations. What? Have the migrants bought all the alcohol? Have the government forbidden them? Do bars and pubs and liquor shops discriminate against them? No. They've withdrawn to the virtual world. Alcohol consumption is a very good measure of how adventurous they are. They lack this spirit not because it is forbidden to them, but because they have given up on the world. They are having relationships online with AI or OnlyFans models, so-called models. They are watching porn. They are having their adventures in video games. They are traveling on Instagram. They are debating on Twitter. The government oppression is only their alibi, and they don't need our understanding. They need our contempt. I was once at a meeting with a businessman. He was from Poland, but he moved to America, escaped from under communism. And there he started a business and became affluent. He credits all his success to a random stranger on the street. When he first arrived in America, he had no money, he didn't have a job, he had no friends and acquaintances, he didn't even have cigarettes. So he walked on the street and saw a man smoking. What little English he knew, he used to ask the man for a cigarette. The man sneered at him. He looked at him with utmost contempt and walked away without a word. He credits all the success to that man. He said that if that man gave him a cigarette, perhaps he'd walk a little bit more and ask another man for $1 or for a sandwich and would become a beggar. But when he saw the look of contempt in another man's eyes, it lit a fire in his heart. He needed to prove to the world and to himself that he can achieve something, so that no one would look at him like that again. This is what we need to do for the Zoomers. Contempt in a proper dose can be a powerful medicine. Zoomers and their defenders are outraged when someone tells them they should move and look for better opportunities elsewhere. They say we shouldn't have to move. I will tell them they should not only move to a different town. If need be, they should move to a different country. There is nothing unusual or outrageous about this advice. If they are Americans, their forefathers moved looking for better opportunities from England or Scotland, Ireland, Germany, Italy. In America, many moved from East to the Wild West. In Europe, many Russians fled from the Bolshevik Revolution. French noblemen escaped to Russia from the French Revolution. This is normal course of human history. Even the stupidest Bantu understands that when the well has run dry, he has to move to where the water is. But the modern Zoomer, modern white Zoomer, will stand there and complain. We deserve the water to be here. We shouldn't have to move. It was here for our fathers. And so they will stand there and die of thirst as they wait for nature to take notice of their rights and their moral indignations. Another outrage. Someone told Zoomers that just because they got an education doesn't mean they deserve to work in that profession. Of course they don't have a right. They deserve no guarantee. In order to receive pay, they must do something productive, contribute to society, serve other men. If the society has need for, let's say, 1 million computer programmers, and we educate 500,000 in excess of that, that 500,000 has nothing productive to do. There are no jobs for them. To force employers to give them jobs means that they will be wasting their time and resources, someone who is actually contributing something useful to society has to pay for it. No one guarantees that an industry will continue existing. Many industries, such as whaling, almost completely died out. Others become oversaturated. Those young men have to be allowed to realize their mistake as quickly as possible and find another occupation in which they can actually contribute something to others. Why do we buy shoes from shoemakers? Is it so the shoemaker can put food on his table? No. It's so our feet don't get cold. If we don't require his services, he needs to find another job. If he is unable to do so, he needs to ask for charity, but he has no right to demand from us that we finance his life in exchange for something we don't need and don't want. The final outrage. Zoomers are told that if they cannot get high-paying and prestigious careers, they should settle and be happy in humble, unexacting occupations, such as fast food manager. Why not? Again, not everyone can be successful. Mediocre means average. Most people are average. That is what the word means. That is its nature. And many people are below average. I am unprepared to tell them that they should be unhappy, or that if they accept their fate, they might as well be dead, as Mr. Robinson does in his video. I believe every young man should have the chance to challenge the world and rise as high as his abilities and his possibilities within the system will allow him. If he can, let him change the system. But we must remember that no matter how high he will rise, the world will defeat him at some point. If he rises only to a humble occupation, that is fine. Let him be happy there. I have only contempt for those who would mock him for it. Some will say, if we tell this to young people, they will turn away from conservatism. They will look for someone who promises them more. They will look to men like Andrew Tate, or they will find some revolutionary movement. Are we supposed to lie to them? Those humble occupations will always exist. Someone has to fulfill them. I can't help but notice that we are talking about a fast food manager and not a toilet cleaner. And if we do talk about toilet cleaners, no matter how hard their job is, I hope they will find happiness, perhaps not in it, but in their friends and families, in their hobbies. Certainly having hobbies is not yet forbidden by the government. Conservatives, particularly religious conservatives, have spent centuries, if not millennia, telling people that pride and avarice are sins and ambition is a danger. Why should we change our tune now? As I said, those who really have the drive to achieve something greater will not be deterred. Those who lack either the will or the ability have to accept their position in society. To quote Pope Leo XIII, "It is well to encourage societies of artisan and workmen which constitute it under the guardianship of religion may tend to make all associated contented with their lot and move them to a quiet and peaceful life. The Holy Writ tells us, "Servants, obey your masters," and "the poor ye shall always have with you." Those who promise greatness to all are liars. They are, in the words of Saint Pope Pius X, insane dreamers, rebels and miscreants who would try to give every citizen a soul of a king and every worker a soul of a master. When they preach pride and ambition, we must preach meekness and humility. There is no other way. The great conservative thinker and South Carolina politician James Henry Hammond reminds us, "In all social systems there must be a class to do the menial duties, to perform the drudgery of life. That is, a class requiring but a low order of intellect and but little skill. Its requisites are vigor, docility, fidelity. Such a class you must have, or you would not have that other class which leads progress, civilization, and refinement. It constitutes the very mudsill of society and of political government. And you might as well attempt to build a house in the air as to build either one or the other, except on this mudsill. A political movement may resort to populism and tell young people that they will all have better lives after the election. But when that government takes power, it must inevitably tell them to accept their fate and be happy about it. We win with progressive movements not by outbidding them, but by forming our own elites, as a diamond is formed by pressure, by harsh touch, and on the other hand, by teaching the vast masses of people contentment. We need Christian influencers and priests teaching them to turn the other cheek, accept this life, and hope for an eternal reward in the world to come. If this cannot teach them acceptance, then there are other methods. Cossacks with whips,